What's going on, Imperials? It's Emperor Cubone here. We've talked before about features in the Pokemon games, and there are a lot of great ones that have carried over to this day. But for just about every one of those, there's another feature that has been left by the wayside, some of them never returning afterwards. So we'll be taking a look back at the best features that have been taken away, but really need to make a comeback in the Pokemon franchise. Number 6. The shininess of legendaries. Now, this isn't the case for all of them, but back in the day, literally every single Pokemon had that teeny chance of being another color, including the one on the box. Then somewhere along the way, someone thought it'd be a good idea to implement a shiny lock. This meant certain specific monsters had no chance whatsoever of being shiny upon encounter. This was usually reserved for the mascots and a few other special ones. There have been some opportunities in newer generations when they have not been so stingy, but the oppression still continues somewhere in the game. The excuses I've heard say that it has to do with the continuity of the cutscenes, but that's all a big crock. We have the technology to fix that problem. A 12-year-old could probably do it. If I can change my clothes in the movie, they can change their color. Furthermore, even if the scene doesn't match, no one's going to care because they have a shiny legendary. This is clearly just a misguided attempt by the people in charge to regulate how people play these games. Shiny hunting has legitimately become a preferred method of play for some people out there. Honestly, I'm surprised it's not a trainer class at this point. But instead of getting that recognition, we're handicapped so that no matter how many times you stare down that legendary Pokemon, it will never ever be shiny. And to this day, there are still certain Pokemon that cannot be shiny by any authentic means. The removal of this small chance at a fun surprise just makes the already waning thrill of encountering a supposed legend that much less exciting. Number 5. Triple Battles and Hordes. I talked about this in listing missed opportunities in the first Sun and Moon, but truthfully, it still bothers me a little. It's not that I loved doing triple battles all the time, but they were kinda neat to change things up sometimes. Rotation battles are a joke, but I want a triple battle royale. That would just be so awesome. This is the part where everybody chimes in and says, "Dude, do you want the frame rate to drop so terribly?" Well, no, not really. I know that the game has some trouble with that many Pokemon on the field at once, but that's just more incentive for you to win faster. Also, as long as it doesn't crash my game completely, I don't really care if it looks a bit less polished for a minute or two. Furthermore, SOS chains are fine, but they're so time-consuming compared to horde battles. Plus, you have to waste a ton of healing items, not to mention that it's not even guaranteed that they'll call in someone, even if you'd use an adrenaline orb. So while it might technically be better for EV training, I much prefer the shorter and more reliable method. Even if these types of battles only happened on one route in the entire game, I'd take that over acting like they never existed. Hopefully, now that the Pokemon games will be on some more advanced hardware, they'll consider bringing back these features that made the games increasingly diverse and truthfully much more immersive. Number 4. Pokeblock. Sorry, I couldn't even say that with a straight face. Okay. Number 4. Puff. you stir the berries in the thing, but no one cares. Okay. Number 4. Backwards compatibility. Back in Gen 2, good old Bill worked on the time capsule, which is slightly misleading on the name because it's a true time machine going forwards and backwards. This allowed the player to transfer any Gen 1 Pokemon from Gold and Silver back to their old games, and of course, bringing them all up to the new ones. Now, ever since the cutoff before Gen 3, we've been able to bring our Pokemon along with us to the current generation. But for whatever reason, going back has never been an option again. If you wanted to move up your Oshawott just because it's easier to get experience in Gen 6, then too bad, because once you do, you're stuck. Sure, there are moves and things that you shouldn't know to cause certain issues, but a simple fix for that would be to just not have them be eligible for transfer. just like you can't transfer Pokemon up through the PAL Park if they know HMs. Even Pokemon Bank doesn't allow this sort of thing. If we mastered this technology before Y2K, how come we can't use it now? It wouldn't hurt anyone, and I'd only imagine that it would encourage people to go back and revisit those older games that they might not otherwise have done, and give the players a broader appreciation for the franchise as a whole. Number 3. A completed Pokédex. I was going to put Pokemon Following You here back when I came up with the idea, but since then the Let's Go games have successfully brought it back, much to the enjoyment of the fanbase, and it's likely that it could stick around for good at this point. But one thing that I never thought would be taken out of the game was the Pokédex being full, with every Pokemon being accounted for. I guess I just took it for granted that we would be able to shine a tiny spotlight on each Pokemon just for a little bit no matter what generation we were in. This problem is twofold, because in Alola, we have to deal with limited memory space, I guess, with the Rotom Dex, since we can only view 300 to 400 Pokemon at a time. Even though other ones clearly exist on these islands, but there's just no data for them. The least they could do was import the Dex entries from past generations, like they've done in previous games. That's all it would take to appease me. I just wanted them to acknowledge the fact that these hundreds of other Pokemon actually exist. Another problem is the newer Let's Go games, where the Pokédex is restricted because they are incredibly limited about which Pokemon can even be in the games. I see what they were going for, I really do, but come on, we're in the 21st century. I think we can handle a higher number of Pokemon. And yeah, I know that it's probably because the development team didn't want to have to do 8 times the work that they already did, and that these games are more of a stepping stone to better things down the line, but still. You could even outsource it to fans if you're really desperate, and you'd probably get ones that sound a little bit more realistic. You know, as far as magic elemental monsters are concerned. Really, there's no reason not to include all of the Pokemon when they all clearly exist. Honestly, I don't know what the order of the Alola Pokemon are supposed to be half as well as I do any other region, because they've never been officially displayed except behind a Wi-Fi only paywall. But it's not just for my sake. What about the poor kids that started with Gen 7? They might think in completing the Dex that they've actually caught them all. They could be missing out on a potential favorite Pokemon just because they're not working with all of the information possible. I just don't think it's too much to ask to have the Pokédex do its job and show information on all of the Pokemon, and not just the ones deemed relevant at the moment. Number 2. The Pokemon World Tournament. The end of every Pokemon game culminates in challenging the Elite Four and beating the region's champion. However, in the anime, we're lucky if we even meet all of the Elite Four. There, the penultimate stop to completing your journey is a massive tournament with all sorts of trainers, many of whom we've seen before, that fight it out in a bracket until there's only one left standing. I was always incredibly jealous of this setup because it looked so cool. So many rounds, so many different trainers with different possible teams. So when Black and White 2 announced the Pokemon World Tournament, it was quite the treat. We could now enter our own brackets to defeat trainer after trainer to become the winner, just like in the show. Too bad it was only against random NPC trainers that... Wait a minute, what's this? All of the past gym leaders are possible opponents in this tournament? Talk about it all coming together. These classic trainers have seriously buffed and filled out their teams to make them all the more challenging. Lots of people will say that the Battle Frontier is the best post-game content, and while that's okay, I prefer to get tangible results of actual experience for my team. If I'm going to fight for fun, I would prefer it be against people that I already know, and people that I know are the toughest around. So for my money, if we can only have one, the Pokemon World Tournament is the post-game battle facility we really need to make a comeback. Number 1. Dexnav. This feature was a Pokemon Master's dream. It could not only show you what kinds of Pokemon were in a specific given area, it would also let you know if new Pokemon that you had encountered but not yet caught were available. Furthermore, you could actively search for these Pokemon. with this feature also allowing you to view potential moves and even abilities. It even made it easier to shiny hunt. The Dexnav was constantly on my bottom screen in Oros, much more than any of the other potential options, and it helped me complete the Pokédex with ease. The ability to search for specific Pokémon was not only phenomenal in catching them all, but could also allow you to find monsters with better IVs, possible egg moves, and even their hidden abilities. Using the Dexnav could help you get Pokémon perfect for competitive play without having to cheat. It's very rare for any feature to be so essential and adored by casual and competitive players at the same time. I know that the Dexnav is just a revitalized offshoot of the Pokenav, since that was the Gen 3 feature like the Pokegear or the Pokédex, but that doesn't mean that it couldn't come back in some other way. It easily could have fit within the Rotom Dex's ability to track where any Pokemon are in the area. Many features have come and gone in the Pokemon games, and there are even other features I didn't mention, like Shadow Pokemon. But no removed feature has been quite as fun or as useful as the Dexnav. So, those are my top removed features from the Pokemon games. Which features would you like to bring back? Let me know down in the comments. Also be sure to leave a like, share this video, and subscribe so that you too can become an Imperial today. And we'll see you around next time!